Humans would stare down the barrel of a planet-cracking laser cannon without an ounce of fear in their bodies. Wadi diplomat Cade slumped into his chair, the negotiations with the humans still fresh in his mind, as his assistant Zoran poured 2 glasses of biting alcohol. "I've never seen anything like it," Cade said. "Over 30 years I've bargained with 100 species, but these humans, they're different." Zoran handed Cade a glass. "How so? I heard they barely have fusion drives. They still use chemical rockets to reach orbit." Cade took a long swig, savoring the burn in his throat. "Their technology is primitive, but their resolve is like iron. We demanded they submit to the Empire or face annihilation. We thought they would faint at the sight of our plasma rifles." "But they didn't surrender." Their leader, a man named Grant, just glared at me with eyes like glacial ice. He said they would fight to the last human before bowing to us or anyone else. Zoran's eyes widened. "Fight against our armada?" The madman nearly declared war on the spot. Even with our antimatter warheads aimed at their cities, Cade drained his glass. "I don't know if they're suicidally brave or too ignorant to realize the odds, but they absolutely will not bend." Zoran leaned in. "So what do we do? The Emperor expects this annexation to proceed." Cade poured another drink with shaking hands. "I managed to delay any conflict and continue the talks, but one way or another, I fear this will end in blood. Pray it's not our own." Zoran leaned back, shock evident on his face. "They refuse to become a vassal state, even with our superior technology as an incentive." Cade nodded gravely. Grant wouldn't budge. He insisted that Earth would never give up its independence no matter the benefits we dangled. The diplomat took another sip of his drink. Instead, he proposed a trade agreement. Apparently, the humans have made significant strides in biotechnology and quantum computing, fields where our own research has stagnated. "Impressive for a species we thought was still struggling to leave their own atmosphere," Zoran mused. "Indeed, our initial reconnaissance severely underestimated their capabilities." Cade's brow furrowed as he recalled the tense negotiations. But even as we turned to veiled threats and shows of force, Grant and his team remained unshakable. They met our aggression with calm defiance. Zoran leaned forward, his interest piqued. "How did the Emperor react to this resistance?" Cade sighed heavily. "Not well. He ordered me to double down, to force the humans into submission by any means necessary." The diplomat's hands trembled slightly as he recounted the memory. "So I returned to the negotiating table, ready to deliver an ultimatum. But Grant, and he looked me straight in the eye and declared that humanity would not be cowed, no matter how powerful the adversary." "What did you do?" Zoran asked, his voice barely above a whisper. What could I do? The resolve in his eyes, the unwavering determination, it shook me to my core. Cade's gaze grew distant. In that moment, I realized that we were dealing with a species unlike any other, one that would fight tooth and nail for their freedom, even against impossible odds. Zoran sat back, processing this revelation. "So where do we go from here? The Emperor won't be pleased if we return empty-handed." Cade drained the last of his drink, his mind racing with possibilities. "We need to tread carefully. If we push too hard, we risk igniting a war we may not win. But if we concede too much, we'll appear weak in the eyes of the galaxy." The diplomat's eyes met Zoran's, a flicker of uncertainty passing between them. "For now, we continue the negotiations, feeling out the humans' true strengths and weaknesses. And we pray to the stars that we find a path forward that doesn't lead to our own destruction." Zoran leaned forward, his eyes widening with surprise. "A cultural exchange program, that's a bold move considering the tensions between our civilizations." Cade nodded, a smile tugging at the corners of his mouth. "Indeed it was. But I realized that we needed to approach the humans differently. Their fearlessness and determination couldn't be countered with force alone." And Grant agreed to this proposal. "Without hesitation," Cade confirmed. In fact, he seemed genuinely excited by the prospect of learning more about our people and our ways. Zoran sipped his drink thoughtfully. "So what happened during the exchange? Did the humans live up to their reputation?" Keed chuckled softly. Oh, they certainly did. I had the privilege of accompanying the human delegation during their visit to our homeworld. From the moment they arrived, Grant and his team threw themselves into the experience with an enthusiasm I had never seen before. How so? Zoran asked, intrigued. They were eager to try our exotic cuisine, even the dishes that most off-worlders find too spicy or strange. They spent hours learning our language, practicing with anyone who would listen. And they engaged in debates and discussions with our scholars and artisans, always seeking to understand our perspectives and share their own. Zoran shook his head in amazement. Even in the face of our advanced technology and imposing architecture, I would have thought they'd feel intimidated or out of their depth. That's what astounded me the most, Kaid admitted. No matter how grand or alien our surroundings, the humans never showed a hint of unease. They approached everything with a fearless curiosity, always ready to learn and adapt. Incredible, Zoran murmured. And what about the military demonstration? Surely that must have given them pause. Keed leaned back in his chair, his expression thoughtful. You know, I thought the same thing. When our military put on a display of our most advanced weaponry and tactics, I expected the humans to be unsettled, like the other visiting dignitaries. But Grant and his team, they watched with rapt attention, their eyes shining with genuine interest. They weren't intimidated, Zoran asked, disbelief coloring his tone. Not in the slightest. In fact, they peppered our military leaders with questions about our strategies and training methods. They wanted to understand how we had achieved such a level of technological prowess and tactical expertise. Zoran shook his head, marveling at the humans' audacity. I can only imagine how our military leaders reacted to that. They were just as surprised as I was, Kaid admitted, but they were also impressed by the humans' fearlessness and their willingness to engage with the unknown. It left a deep impression on all of us. So what do you think this means for the future of our relations with Earth? Zoran asked, leaning forward in his seat. Kaid paused, considering his words carefully. I believe that we have a unique opportunity here. The humans have shown us that they are not to be underestimated or dismissed. They are a species of remarkable courage and determination, willing to face any challenge head-on. And you think we can find a way to work with them rather than against them? I do, Keed said, his voice filled with conviction. But it will require a change in our approach. We must learn to see the humans as equals, as partners in the great cosmic dance. Only then can we hope to forge a lasting peace and... Zoran leaned in, captivated by Keed's revelations. So, the cultural exchange had a profound impact on our understanding of humanity. Keed nodded, his eyes gleaming with newfound respect. Indeed it did. Grant and his team didn't just fearlessly engage with our culture, they shared their own unique perspectives and experiences, opening our eyes to the depth and complexity of human civilization. What do you mean? Zoran asked, his curiosity piqued. One evening as we sat around the fire, Grant began to share stories of Earth's history, Keed recounted, his voice taking on a reverent tone. He spoke of the diverse civilizations that had risen and fallen, the challenges humanity had faced, and the incredible resilience they had shown in the face of adversity. Zoran's brow furrowed. Resilience? Yes, Keed confirmed. Grant told us of a time when humans had nearly driven themselves to extinction through war and environmental destruction, but instead of succumbing to despair, they came together, united in their determination to build a better future. Incredible, Zoran breathed. To think that a species could come so close to the brink and still find the strength to rebuild. Keed nodded solemnly. It's a trait rarely seen among the species we've encountered. The Wadi listeners were amazed by humanity's ability to learn from their mistakes and forge ahead no matter the odds. And what of their fearlessness in the face of physical challenges? Zoran inquired, remembering Keed's earlier mention of the Wadi training facility. A smile tugged at the corners of Keed's mouth. Ah, yes. During our visit to the training facility, Grant and his team eagerly participated in a series of simulated combat scenarios designed to test their problem-solving skills and adaptability. Despite the unfamiliar technology and environment, Zoran asked, his eyes widening. Exactly, Cade confirmed. The humans quickly adapted, their minds working in ways we had never seen before. They impressed our instructors with their ingenuity and determination, finding solutions to challenges that would have stumped most other species. Zoran sat back, processing this new information. It seems that we have greatly underestimated humanity's potential. Cade sighed, his expression thoughtful. Indeed we have. This display of fearlessness and adaptability challenged my preconceptions about humanity and forced me to reconsider our approach to interstellar relations. In what way? Zoran asked, leaning forward in his seat. Cade's eyes met Zoran's, a flicker of determination passing between them. We must recognize that humanity is not a species to be conquered or subjugated. They are a force to be reckoned with, a potential ally in the face of the unknown challenges that lie ahead. Zoran nodded slowly, the weight of Cade's words sinking in. So where do we go from here? Cade's gaze grew distant, his mind racing with possibilities. We must continue to engage with humanity, to learn from them and find common ground. The cultural exchange was just the beginning. We need to build upon the foundation of mutual respect and understanding that we've established. And what of the Emperor's demands for annexation? Zoran asked, his voice tinged with concern. Cade's expression hardened, his resolve unwavering. We must make him see the folly of such an approach. Humanity's fearlessness and determination cannot be conquered through force. We must find a way to work together, to forge an alliance that will benefit both our civilizations. Zoran sat back, a glimmer of hope in his eyes. It won't be easy convincing the Emperor to change course. No, it won't, Cade agreed, his voice firm. But we must try. The future of our people, and perhaps the galaxy itself, depends on our ability to find common ground with humanity. The two Wadi sat in silence for a moment, the weight of their conversation hanging in the air. They knew that the path ahead would be fraught with challenges, but they also knew that they could not turn back now. The cultural exchange had opened their eyes to the true nature of humanity, and they knew that they must do everything in their power to ensure that this newfound understanding... Zoran leaned back in his chair, processing the weight of Cade's revelations. So the Wadi Empire offered an alliance, but with strings attached. Cade nodded, a wry smile on his face. Indeed, our leadership was so impressed by humanity's potential that they couldn't resist the temptation to try and harness it for our own gain. He swirled the remnants of his drink, watching the liquid catch the light. The proposed terms were less than equitable. They demanded access to Earth's resources and technology, essentially seeking to make humanity a client state of the Empire. And Grant refused, Zoran asked, though he already knew the answer. Without hesitation, Cade confirmed. He made it clear that while humanity valued the opportunity for friendship and cooperation, they would not compromise their autonomy or integrity for the sake of an alliance. Zoran shook his head in disbelief. I can only imagine how the leadership reacted to that. Cade chuckled humorlessly. They were livid. Unaccustomed to such defiance, they couldn't fathom why humanity would turn down the chance to join the Empire. His expression sobered. Some even called for the immediate subjugation of Earth, arguing that humanity's fearlessness posed a potential threat to our dominance. But you advised against it, Zoran said, studying his friend's face. I did, Cade admitted. Having witnessed firsthand the strength of human resolve, I knew that any attempt to force them into submission would only lead to a costly and devastating conflict, one that we might not win. Zoran nodded slowly. So what happened? Cade sighed. In the end, the Empire chose to withdraw its offer and cease all diplomatic contact with Earth, a decision born of wounded pride and short-sightedness, if you ask me. The two diplomats sat in contemplative silence for a moment, the weight of the lost opportunity hanging between them. Do you think we made a mistake? Zoran asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Cade's eyes grew distant. I respect Grant's decision, and I understand why he made it, but I can't help but feel a sense of loss at what could have been a transformative partnership. Zoran leaned forward, his brow furrowed. And what about the impact on the galactic stage? How will humanity's fearlessness shape the future? Keed shook his head. That's the question, isn't it? Will their unwavering resolve inspire other species to challenge the status quo? Or will it lead to Earth's isolation in an increasingly hostile universe? Zoran mulled over Kaid's words, the implications sending a shiver down his spine. Only time will tell, I suppose. Indeed, Keed agreed, his voice tinged with a mix of admiration and apprehension. But one thing is certain, humanity's fearless spirit has left an indelible mark on the Wadi and the galaxy at large. Zoran nodded, the weight of the future pressing down on him. He looked at Kaid, a question forming on his lips. You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.